Go. Welcome, welcome, everyone, to
Welcome.
episode 10, season 2. Got my co host here, Keith. Congratulations on being in the playoffs. I'm here as well, Ryan, your host today. Also, congratulations. Give myself a little dually pat in the back there for making the playoffs. All right, we haven't met in 2 weeks. Keith, before we jump into the fun fantasy football, I got to ask you anything noteworthy happened this weekend in college football you'd like to bring up?
See, there was what was it like 4 or 5 weeks ago, maybe UT Georgia. Man, UT's fans after a bad call, they got called out for making a big ruckus about it, throwing trash on the field. It was a national story. How could they do this? Blah blah blah. Whatever. Um, I just don't get it. I don't know why Texas got that pushback because Texas A&M keeps throwing out a trash team on the field. So I don't know. I don't know. Welcome to the SEC. I know we blew it at home against Georgia, but we get our rematch. It is a home game for Georgia, being in Atlanta. But that's a big, probably the biggest game in a long time. It feels bigger than even the college football playoff last year, which doesn't make sense, but it does, because we're proving that we can win in the SEC. So I'm just glad we look good. I'm glad we look good. I'm glad we're finishing strong. So one more game, baby. Texas fight. Texas fight.
Okay, well, congratulations. For those that are new to the stream, we are a league divided. We have two strong A&M folks. Sorry to them. They're just gonna have to continue being second brother. We are majority a UT league, right? We got 4 or 5 members there. I got a sister that goes there. Actually, CJ went to A&M medical school, but I'm not sure that he claims them. Point being, is that there's another team that's playing in the college football playoff, not playoffs, their conference championship this weekend. And yes, some may say that is the battle of the mid majors, the tallest midgets. However you want to say it, doesn't matter. We are talking about the ACC championship. Your Clemson Tigers going to win. Yes, another ACC, another Clemson championship is coming home, sneaking in backdoor, gonna be the 4 seed. Uh, and you never know. You just got to get in the dance. So, Keith, congratulations to your Longhorns. I hope you have a
Thank
good
you.
time this weekend.
Thank
I
you.
will be pulling for you over Georgia. Let's go Tigers right
Yeah.
after. All right.
Can I just
Please,
ask one question?
please,
Okay.
please.
So obviously, winning is a very good thing. I just want to know, compared to previous years where the ACC was actually kind of formidable conference, they had some good teams, a lot of really good teams. Um, the roster at Clemson was good. Dabo had those guys playing well. Compared to that, does this feel good at all?
Yes, because it feels like the rules changed at the perfect time. It seems like college football was for the elite, and yes, I was one of those elite for 10 years. And then the rules changed, and Clemson's not
Hmm.
rich, right? And this is not going to become a college football playlist, but college football podcast. We just need to get this out of the way, talk a little
We
crap to
have to.
A&M friends, keep it moving, right? But yeah, no, Clemson's, their problem is that we've got about 7 or 8 of these 5-star guys. We used to have 15, 20. We just don't have the depth.
Fair.
We can get lucky and beat anyone, just because you get in the dance, a couple bounces, a little bloop and a blast, you never know. But the Tigers are in trouble. They will beat the mid-major SMU Mustangs. Dallas, I don't think there's anyone in our league that likes Dallas, maybe besides CJ. But besides that, like, we are not a pro Dallas place. All right,
No,
Keith. Final thoughts before we move forward to the league and what we're here to really
no,
talk about. What the people deserve, what they want to hear.
no. That's it, baby. I'm
Okay.
excited to move on to NFL.
All right. Well, what we've got on screen here is the current standings. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to work backwards, showing the people what the current standings are today. We haven't been on in 2 weeks, so let's go back and look at last week when we talked about JP starting 2 Browns wide receivers and I think 2 Raiders players and getting a win. All right, there's some good stuff there. So here's the standings. Let's go back in time. So this is last week. I got to play the Lifeless Mungers. It was great. He didn't even show up. I went for another, Keith, can I say another win and top five finish. It's fantastic. Thank you. Thank you.
You've got six. You've got 6 wins in a row. About to pull eight.
Yeah. No, I know. It's actually longer than that, but we can keep going on. Stafford sealed his way into the playoffs. Oh, he already had that, but a nice performance, really putting himself in contention for a bye. We'll get there for this week. Old school. This is a theme. Look at him. Couple
Ooh,
L's. Couple L's. And we're going to talk about McCaffrey, right? That is on
I've been
Old
saying
School's
it.
team.
I've been saying it. Ain't I been saying it, boy?
I know. Well, the
Trash.
hypothetical
Trash.
standings, we're missing our pal Matt here today. You know, it would be interesting to see where he put him after the cold streak and the McCaffrey. I could see a massive momentum shift coming out of the Matt hypothetical standings and putting him into that middle pack, which I know Stafford took very personally, right? And then last one, Keith, I'll leave you with the final comments on this week. How'd it go playing against John? Let's click in this box score.
Number one scorer of the week, number one overall, right? 154.4. I didn't hold back. Sometimes you got to get a get right game after you lose to, Munger, who's second bottom feeder. Well, you got to whoop up on a bottom feeder to get your confidence back. So, um, yeah, I mean, I like to see Jaden Daniels and Scary Terry connect, even if it was in that crazy garbage time, whatever finish kind of saved Terry McLaurin's day. Bucky Irving's coming out, showing out. I know he got hurt at the end of last game, but I don't know, man. Feeling
Well,
feeling good.
that's a nice transition there. Let's talk about your matchup this week. Okay.
Oh, sorry.
I've got no. I think that's a perfect transition, right? So we summed up last week where we're at. We've already shown the people the standings. Let's talk about where we're at
Mm.
right now at this exact moment. And this is at halftime of the Monday Night Football game with famous Jameis trying to make it interesting. Keith, tell me about your matchup where you're at right now.
Yeah. Jaden Daniels, Scary Terry connecting twice. Jaden Daniels on the ground as well. So um, yeah, I mean, I'm just riding this Washington wave. It kind of seems like them being a young team, young quarterback, it's going to have some up and downs. So I just gotta pray that it's not a bunch of downs come playoff time for me. I was stoked to see Jaden Reed 2 touchdowns, even though it was 24 yards, 3 catches. So
Yeah,
that was a big payoff. Obviously, San Francisco, that is that's a tough situation to be in, especially since I basically traded for George Kittle, but last week he came through. This week he didn't, so it might just be up and down a little bit.
that is
But
the
I will
tight end
say it
position.
stands.
Yeah,
That is tight end position. It's true, and I that's why I kept Hawkinson, who didn't have a great game, but I definitely got options and can play matchups. But it sticks out like a sore thumb. Ryan Kareem Hunt, what it was 9 carries, 15 yards. Chuba Hubbard, 43 yards and a fumble in a tightly contested game.
big
So I think
trend
my
down week
studs
for
are
you.
studding out.
Big trend down for your
Uh,
week this week.
it's hard. It's hard to say as a trend down week when you're second highest scorer in the league.
We'll see. We'll see.
Maybe third, but it's hard to say it's a trend down week when you've got two top
Okay.
the top number one and then probably top three, top two. But not good for playoff consideration, just the up and down nature. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean JP, he got from Saquon what he was gonna get. He got his stars played well. It's just they didn't have the 40, 50 point games or whatever he's used to getting. So
Ah,
I
yeah.
dodged that bullet.
That is fair. Okay, well said. I will say I do think you Chuba starting to split carries a lot more with Brooks. Bucky hopefully keeps up that volume a little. I mean, just let me finish here. Your second running back spot a little bit took a hit, I think, which does trickle down to that flex position. Which when we are going to get to the old leader up until basically the last 2 weeks, right? We've had old school pretty much running wire to wire. They have a big loss as well, where that second and third flex may become apparent. Any final thoughts before we put a bow on this matchup?
I just Brock Purdy, come on, baby, come back, come back. I need him.
Okay.
My flex is solved with George Kittle going off and Jawan Jennings being a factor with all these injuries. on San Francisco. So if Brock Purdy can get right, he can sling that ball around. I feel a lot better.
Okay. Well, agreed. All right. So we've talked about your matchup here. What we're gonna go do next? I'd like to go back to the standings, and we're gonna talk about some important information here about kind of at the top. So Matt, we don't have him with us today, but if we go ahead and look at these matchups, Matt has an important role, I think, in this playoff. Obviously, because he's at the top of the standings and going to the playoffs, but particularly this week, he has a role, and this is the fantasy fact of the week. This is the fantasy fact, like I said, of the week. And what is that? That is, we're talking about our man Bijan Robinson season. He comes in rocking the new profile pick, trying to get the team rallied after taking a couple losses on the chin. And what does he do? Yes, he beats Stafford. Looks like it. He's going to get the W, but he is actually the cutoff for that top five, bottom five. So, what is the fantasy fact of the week? Is 113.88. Of course, it's always top five. Top five, top 50% of the league. You get that extra win and important. But this year, this week, why is Matt so important? Look at these standings, Keith. 18, he's going to go to 19. He's going to give that L. We're looking at that L column. That's really important. That's about controlling your own destiny. Uh, Stafford, he took an L. You got old
Two
school.
L's.
He took two L's. Keith, I'm looking at you with 10 right now, 10 L's. You're going to stay there. People are coming back to you. Any shot, you think? Backdooring, getting one of those playoff buys? Are you just hoping to get 3 seed? What's your mindset going in here? And again, just put a bow on this. This was the fantasy fact of the week, 113.88 coming out of Matt. Thoughts, Keith?
Well,
Thoughts on what I
so this
just talked
week,
about?
this week, Matt needed one win to seal his bye, for me at least. I can't get the bye after his
Uh,
win, right?
okay. Yep.
Because 2 wins this week, 2 wins next week,
You play the
would
math major.
still,
True.
yeah. I still need help with all this stuff, but um, it is a very tight race as far as who can go up, who can still go up, who can go down, who can still drop out of it. I mean, it's going to come down to who do we want to be matched up with, the 3 through 6, and then who am I trying to go against in the bye. So there's going to be some considerations in my lineup next week. I'll say that. I might be targeting a first round matchup with old school. I think it's time to play Stafford's team. Um, I think when it comes to the playoffs, I don't want to be matched up with JP. So he's got 3 guys that can potentially go off for 40 plus points. So um, yeah, this next week is going to be critical. There's a lot of movement, even though the top 6 are all locked for the playoffs. There is a lot of movement up and down, and some super interesting matchups this upcoming week. I know. I think as it stands right now, everything kind of even out. I believe it's you 1, um, Matt 2, old school is still 3, if I'm not mistaken. I jump up to 4, Stafford's 5, and JP's 6. I might be backwards on JP and Stafford, um, but that can rearrange itself after next week's matchup. So um, definitely one of the more. I hate to see you run away with it, big guy. I hate to see it. Hate it. Hate it. Hate it. But I think you said it about Clemson. All you got to do is get in the dance, and then you can kind of tangle with anyone. So um,
That's it. That's all you
if
got to
I can
do.
get that, I can get the 3 seed. If I get the 3 seed, that puts me matched up with JP or Stafford. I would much rather play Stafford. Um, and then that puts me against Matt. I'd rather play Matt than you.
Yeah,
I'd
my
rather
team's
play
hot
Matt
right
than
now.
you.
My team's hot right now. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the rest of this week. We'll talk a little bit about going forward, and let's not forget everyone's absolute favorite segment, right? We got to get to Keith's question we'll take, but not yet. We don't want people just to sign off right now. We got to get to our sponsor. Thank you again to the show sponsor, Methodist Hospital. You know, cutting out cancer. We love that. Thank you again for the show sponsorship. And that's driven through team member Sehota. So, again, thank you to the show sponsor. You want to give the people what they want now, or should we talk about this matchup? I'll give it to you. I'll put the pressure on you, Keith. You want to do the question we'll take now, or you want to go ahead and talk through the matchups as we talk about this week, week 13, the second of final week, the penultimate week of the fantasy football season? There we
Penultimate
go.
week.
What's your decision?
Um, I I think oh man, I don't know. I don't know. Let's go penultimate week. I'll finish with my stat. I think
Okay.
that's gonna be better.
First one on the screen is mine, so I'll take this one. Uh, Matt at one point was projected for 100. It's not Matt. Oh my god, goodness, John. John was projected. We're talking about the new guy here. The 0-24 glorious perfect record in reverse. He was projected for 130 at one point, which would have been the second highest after the game. I just want to show you Brock Bowers, John Smith. Those were the two big numbers put up after the Thursday and Friday games. And then he did nothing. Typical John fashion. I was very thankful that I was not the one to ruin that perfect zero win. And in fact, he will be 0-26 going into the last week. So, Keith, any comments on our unicorn, John?
Man, I just keep echoing the same thoughts. I wish I had something new to say about it. It's honestly impressive because here's the thing. He is dealing with a lot of health issues at the beginning of the year, but his team is, if I'm not mistaken, it's pretty much back. Um,
Look at the matchup.
so
We got the matchup on the screen. Brett, the pressure's on Brett next week. He want to
the
grind
pressure's
it
on
out.
Brett.
Yeah, Brett's
Like
team
if
stinks too, but
he,
he's underdog. He's an underdog, and John's got a guy on bye. I guess so does Brian. They
well,
both
let's
do.
John.
He's an underdog.
It doesn't matter what happens. John's the underdog because he's probably going to start Nico Collins next week. So let's be real. Um, I mean,
It's so
it's
mean.
not often you go 12 personnel in fantasy. I've done it a lot.
It
I
worked
might
out
do it
this week
this
for him.
upcoming week just due to buys. I mean, it's a great pickup right now. What position rank 1 and 4? And this
Yeah.
crazy year of tight ends. So I
Okay.
mean, I don't
I
like Spears, but I don't know.
I'm with you. I'm with you. But we gotta stop talking about John because honestly, he's out of the playoffs. Been out of the playoffs for 4 weeks. So
Come
let's
on,
go.
Brett. Come on, Brett.
I
Redeem
know
your
we're
Aggies.
all rooting for Brett. I mean, I don't think anyone's questioning that. Although after your comments about the Aggies, he may just try and stick it to you and try and get a win over the Longhorns because you sure as hell know that 13 years waiting didn't help them. Okay,
Nope.
so we got back on here the standings. I mean the scoreboard. Let's keep going through here. We got Old School versus Sehota. This is by far why we're watching Monday Night Football right now. For the folks watching, it's Javonte Williams and a half point PPR needing 3 points in the second half. Just get it done, Keith.
He's got to. I mean, it's. I checked the halftime 1 carry for 1 yard and a touchdown.
It's concerning.
That's not
No volume.
looking great. Zero volume. That might be different now, but at halftime, that's where I was at. So, I mean, you have to imagine that it's going to work out. But I've been in his shoes in this situation, and you watch the second half of a Monday night or Sunday night football game, and every second that goes by, you get more and more worried, and then it just doesn't happen. So, um, I'm rooting, we're all rooting for you, CJ. We're
We are.
all rooting for you.
Do you want to say anything to Mr. Conlon?
Pat, I've been saying it. Your team, ugh, mediocre. It's been mediocre for 2 years. You won a championship last year with the mediocre team. So I don't know. We'll see. Can you click on his? I want to look at his roster. You were talking about his flex positions because we're talking about
Yeah.
my team bottoming out in the flexes.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
He's in a similar situation, right? Christian
Yes.
McCaffrey,
So
Rashad White,
he's got
nothing.
White losing carries. He's got McCaffrey out for the
Hmm.
year. He's got Matheson, who's part of a timeshare, and then nothing else. Look at that bench. That looks like the opposite of my bench. It's just a bunch of nobody wide receivers, and mine's just a bunch of handcuff running
Yeah.
backs. Right. So
I mean, Trey Benson's a good handcuff, but man,
he just
I
picked him
mean,
up.
Rashad White is literally getting. I mean, Bucky Irving's like three times outperforming. Obviously,
Yeah.
it's not going to be good if Irving misses time, but yeah, I think the bottom's falling out on Pat's team. Sorry,
Christian
Pat. Hey,
Watson.
you had a good run to start the year, and you prayed for Christian McCaffrey come back, and he looked good for one
He
game.
did. He did.
Looked great for
That's
one
sad. Let's just see though. Let's see the Javante Williams. He's up to six. He's got 4 carries for 1 yard.
game. 4 carries
Stressful.
for 1 yard.
It's not good.
I'm so curious to see what CJ's going through right now.
All right, let's talk about our co-host Matt. Wasn't able to join us today. He is going to get the win over the lifeless banana pudding, but he is going to take an L on that bottom 50%. I think both of us quite happy with this. 1-1 is a good split for us with his 18-6 record. We like Matt, but we don't like it when he wins. Is that fair?
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
All right.
Correct. And then I don't mind Stafford. I'm battling head to head with Stafford a little bit right now, so I don't mind him getting 2 losses.
That's
One
actually a good
win for
point.
him actually would have hurt me a little bit. So
Tough week for the playoff crowd, except for somehow John did nothing, and yeah, so that must have been everyone else. CJ, yeah. All right. Speaking of the non-playoff crowd, but we've got the fight for not being the bottom dweller. We've got the Munger versus the Brett. Actually, a little bit of a lifeful performance out of both of them. Decent. Um, Unfortunately, Munger is going to take a double L this week. Brett will get a win for the 2 wins. So interesting. That's how much these 3 points have mattered. Um, what are your thoughts on this one? I guess not really noteworthy. We should probably not spend any more airtime on this one.
Tony Pollard, dud. Scroll down a little bit. Amon St. Brown, pretty much a dud. Tucker Craft not in the starting lineup. Man, I just keep winning all these trades. God, it's crazy.
Hey, listen. I know I meant to say this earlier. I didn't want to cut you off though. The stack with Jaden Daniels. You're welcome. That was my idea to have the stack with Burrow and T Higgins would end up giving me a nice win. You as well, Scary Terry, uh, Daniels. Like, come on, that was a great idea for both of us. We're going to like that in
It
the
was.
playoffs. Come on,
It
that
was.
was
We
good.
both won that trade. We both won
Yes,
that trade.
that's what we like to see.
Except I actually won the trade because my player is not hurt.
Uh, we'll see in the playoffs. All right,
T Higgins. Come on.
last one, Keith. Last thing before we're gonna get to what everyone's claiming at literally the chat is blowing up right now. We're actually a little laggy on our stream because I'm getting so much just people trying to get this content out of you of what is the questionable move on the week. I want to hear about your matchup this week. Then we talk questionable move. And we put a nice little bow on it as we go into week 14, and I'm going to give you the honors to close this thing out after that. Let's talk about this matchup this week first.
Wait, didn't we already talked about this?
We did at the beginning of the show, but just we've talked about all the other matchups. Any other final words on yours that you like to talk about? I gave you some crap about that second RB spot really being a lot weaker. But anything else? Any message? Maybe to JP? You just said you were scared of him going to the playoffs. So anything you'd like to say to him?
Well, it's not that I'm scared. It's like it feels like going against him in a win or go home situation is like playing Russian roulette. The difference is Jalen Hurts, Saquon, and Jamar Chase is three bullets in a what 11 chamber gun, 10 chamber gun, whatever it is, however many players we start. So I don't like those odds to just have one of those guys go off. Now, uh, Cincy, I think, if I'm not mistaken, is officially out of the playoffs. So
Which is
that
not good for me.
doesn't
I got the
help.
Burrow Higgins stack. Not good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so that doesn't help Jamar Chase's kind of situation, but it just feels like, I mean, obviously the Eagles beat Baltimore, but it feels like um, that I don't know, 24-19 wasn't crazy good offense, but they just have the potential to go off whenever they want. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't love his team. It's just it's literally a three bullets out of a 10 round or 10 chamber gun, and you're playing Russian roulette. So I do not want to play him again. I'll take my win. I'll take my double win this week against him, and just move on and let him go off against someone else.
Okay. All right. Uh, I'm Keith. Not gonna lie, literally the chat's so upset with me that I've let it go this far into the show, given that we only have about 2 minutes left. I want to send it over to you. Are you ready for the Keith's questionable move of
Ready.
the week? Let's do it.
Ready, ready, Freddy.
All right, what you got?
Okay. It is not necessarily this week. Ties to the draft. So, two things. One, looking back, if you really, really analyze, um, pre me and Brett swapping our teams, obviously we did that whole thing where we drafted for each other and then traded teams, kind of throw everyone off. A lot of people trashing my team, trashing my draft. Turns out they were right. Because Brett did draft a pretty terrible team for me under my name. So sorry, Brett. Just want to throw that out there. But I did get a lot of flack for $13 spent on Raheem Mostert. I held on to him the whole year. I just kept believing. I even said, well, if Achan gets hurt, they're gonna have to, if Tua goes down, they're gonna have to run the ball more. Oh gosh. Of all the players that I've dropped or gotten rid of or whatever, there was something in my heart just holding on to his last season. I thought it was an absolute steal at $13. But no, sorry, you have to look at Brett's team.
There it is.
I thought he was an absolute steal at 13. Um, but I mean, nope, dropped him this week. Just straight up dropped him. So um, I dropped him for Tyler Algier. I wish I would have gotten Benson. Honestly, I blew it a little bit on that one, but that's not a good situation. Drafting a guy, believing in him, hanging on to him all year. I could have dropped him. There's been so many weeks this year I could have
Yeah,
dropped him. I could have dropped him after week three,
that's what I was gonna
and
say
found
because
a
you
million
had
guys, but I held on hope and it didn't work.
you had Cook, Hubbard, and then
Hmm.
Spears and Pollard. So you hit on your $4 things. I want to say thank you for the Cortland Sutton drop. He's won me some weeks, so I
Yeah,
do want to
we
thank
can
you for it.
we talked about that. We talked
Hmm.
about that. Drafted him for three. He was a low volume, kind of big play, getting some touchdowns. And you tried to literally backdoor him into trade. Hey, what about just throwing in Cortland Sutton? And I was like, no, man, I'm not just gonna throw him in. Or no, I take it back. I was trying to get rid of him, and you're like, I don't want Cortland Sutton. Couldn't get rid of him to you, had to drop him the next week, and then you picked him up for like what, 50 or $40 or something like
Like
that,
30,
Fab.
35. Yeah,
Oh my gosh. What a
worked
joke.
out.
And then now he's playing out of his mind. So I had an incredible draft. Just gonna throw that out there.
Yeah, T Higgins for
Except
13
for
was a
Tank
good
Dell.
value too. Okay.
Tank Dell for 13 was horrible.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, but Chuba and Pollard for a total of 7 is a steal. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I've got up on the screen here. All right. I just got the current standings of where we're at. Um, take us home. Oh, that's not what we need. Take us home. Tell the people at home where we're going next week. Actually, let's do this. I got the projected playoff brackets. So take us
Projected
home,
playoff
Keith.
brackets.
Sign us
All
off.
right. So I think you have locked up, if not mathematically, you've essentially locked up the number one spot. I think Matt's locked up the number two. I think the real fight is three, four, five, six. I do think I'm gonna get I do believe that I'm gonna get the three. I think Old School's gonna
Ooh.
drop the four. I think I think Stafford is gonna have the five, and I think JP is gonna have the six. So that would put three versus six. So I'd be going against JP.
Who you don't want
Pat
to
would
play
have
against. Yep.
who I don't want to play against. So, and that's
That's
what I
what
was kind
works.
of alluding to. I would almost feel okay at the four, but then I have to play you theoretically after a win. So obviously you get to the playoffs, everyone's got a good team. So no matter
Yeah.
how you look at it, you're not gonna have an easy run like the Celtics did to the finals last year. But um yeah, I don't know. I think it's gonna be interesting, but at the end of the day, you gotta win the playoffs. And it feels interesting with all of us locked into the playoffs already.
Yeah, that's odd.
But I just want to give you a shout out. Congratulations. You've had a hell of a run, kid. You've had a hell of a run. Don't know how you're doing it. Um, I'm impressed. I will
Great
say I'm impressed. I
determination.
called this before the season that it was going to be the end of the year of the Conlin, the run of the Conlins. I can't remember what I called it. Um, but you and your dad have held strong. So well done.
We have. Thank you.
Well
Thank you.
done.
All right. And with that, what a great week in fantasy football. We got a Jets win because they lost. Remember, we're for draft position. We have a Texans win. We have a Texas win. We have a Clemson win. We have a Keith win. We have a Ryan win. This was a great win overall. Thank you guys all for tuning in and have a great